Hello everybody, NeroX back again for another Terraria Induced Thoughts episode. Today's episode is on, of course, E3. And whoo boy, do we have a lot to talk about. I'm going to start with Nintendo, considering they seem to have made some of the biggest splashes. For one, they've announced Metroid Prime 4. Yay! For those of you that don't know, Metroid Prime was the Metroid series' big jump into 3D. And for some reason, Metroid always does better in the US than it does in Japan, which I think is why it doesn't really get as much love, as much love as it should, in my opinion. The Metroid series is excellent. Even though it does have the black sheep of the family in Metroid 2, Super Metroid is still considered to be one of the greatest games of all time, something I agree with wholeheartedly. They announced Metroid Prime 4, which is, yay, the Mario and Rabbids RPG, crossover RPG. I don't know how to feel about that personally, because I'm not a big RPG person. Like, I'll play them, but, like, I'm not, like, the biggest fanatic of them. But the Mario and Luigi RPG series tend to be consistently good, so, yeah. Deal with that what you will. They have ARMS. They recently had the ARMS Global Test Punch, and from what I've seen of it, I don't have a Switch at the moment because I don't have buy a Switch money. Does look like a fun, novelty type of party game, not something really competitive unless you really dig into it and really, get familiar with the mechanics. But, yeah, Nintendo seems to have made the biggest splash this year at E3. So let's move on to Sony's presentation, which was I don't even know how to describe it. Sony's presentation didn't have a lot in terms of what they were going to do with their hardware, but it had, the announcement of the trailer for the next God of War, the trailer for the next, what's it called? That DBZ Fighters game made by the same people who made Guilty Gear. That I'm excited about. And Assassin's Creed Origins. Oh my god, another Assassin's Creed. Why should we care at this point? And finally, that's all I really got from Sony. The only thing I'm really invested in, other than, Metroid Prime 4 at this point, is really, what's it called? The Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, which is remakes of the first 3 Crash Bandicoot games, which I've needed in my life for years now. But anyway, that's Sony. Sony presentation-wise was at best. They hyped some stuff up, but not. It was pedestrian as far as E3 goes. And finally, the Xbox One. Oh, Microsoft, you should have fired your marketing team years ago. The Xbone sorry, let me get my thoughts together here. Sorry about that. But anyway, they announced the Xbox One X, which is apparently the most powerful home console ever made, which on paper does sound like a good thing, but power doesn't mean a thing if it's hard to develop for. Now, the Xbox One has had quite a few ups and downs over the years, from when it was announced, the whole, will it have DRM? Will it not have DRM? Will it be always online? Will it not be always online? Microsoft, you guys really need to get your marketing team together and get, some consistency down with your presentations, because this is just going to keep hurting the brand in the long run if your presentation team doesn't know what you're going to do with the system, and B, if you don't have games, kind of on standby lined up for it. Speaking of on standby, we saw Ubisoft got Shigeru Miyamoto to appear at E3. That's a shock. But, yeah, the only real thing I was really looking forward to from Ubisoft was the next South Park RPG. And South Park The Stick of Truth, I loved South Park The Stick of Truth. Even though I'm not a big RPG person, I dug it. I found the writing to be absolutely phenomenal, as you'd expect from a South Park game, which involved Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the people who originally created South Park. But, yeah, that's really all I can say as far as E3 goes this year. There were some great things that came out of it. Oh, Beyond Good and Evil 2. I guess I should talk about that. Ubisoft also announced, and finally, after more than a decade of waiting. Beyond Good and Evil 2, for those of you that don't know, Beyond Good and Evil was originally released on the very first Xbox, the OG Xbox, and though it sold, I want to say to expectations, it didn't really, wow the world sales-wise. It never got a sequel, even though the way the game ends, and I'm trying my best to not spoil it for you guys, it kind of ends on a cliffhanger. So people have been wanting a sequel to Beyond Good and Evil for a long, long time. And Ubisoft finally said, okay, you nerds, if you want your cult game, here, you can have it. But if I were Ubisoft, I'd sweeten the pot and have a re-release of the first Beyond Good and Evil, or maybe an HD remake of it to go with the sequel to catch people up who haven't played the first one or aren't familiar with the game in general. But yeah, E3 had some stuff to get excited about, stuff to be disappointed in. A little bit of everything you'd expect from an E3. Oh, and Kingdom Hearts 3 was announced, but my god, I kind of figured they would announce it. If not now, then soon. But yeah, I think this is going to be one of these videos where I get to use a majority of the footage. That being said, I'm NeroX. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment your thoughts on E3 down below. That being said, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. At me on Twitter if you have more things you want to recommend to me. I'm NeroX. I hope you enjoyed, and peace. Hello everybody, NeroX.